This is Christopher Parham, also known as SQ57 on the Endless Sphere Forum, and today I want to talk to you guys about Hobby King batteries. I know the, the 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 thing now is to get these Hobby King batteries when they're on sale, and they've been having extremely good sales. The most recent sale was the 4S 10 amp hour multi-star batteries, which were coming in at around $30, I believe, which is extremely good because the hard case 4S batteries are like anywhere between $24 to $26, and they're only 5 amp hours. So for only $3 or $4 more, you can get a 10 amp hour cell, although it's a lower C rating, but e-bikes don't typically need that high of a C rating unless you have a very extreme, high power build. But anyway, so these, we have a whole lot of people that are buying these Hobby King battery packs while they're on sale, and they're almost buying exactly what they need. So if they need, let's say four batteries for a 2S2P configuration, that's all they buy. And some people, they get extremely lucky. They'll get stuff from Hobby King and it actually works out fine. Other times, people have been shafted, to where they'll buy the batteries and one or two packs aren't giving capacity, or they have a weak cell or a dead cell in it. And, you know, and even after charging it and discharging it a few times, it's still not a team player. So, you will have to kind of either you realistically should set that pack to the side and not use it, and just go ahead and get another pack from Hobby King. My personal experience with Hobby King is if you can prove without a shadow of a doubt that this battery is faulty, then they'll give you a credit or send another pack out. But there's a lot of people that complain and moan and groan, and they don't have any facts to prove their claim. So that's why a lot of people have to return packs back to Hobby King. They'll check out your story, and then they either give you a credit or send another pack out, which can take days or weeks for them to do. Normally, if I get a dud pack, actually, whenever I get any battery from Hobby King, I automatically, if I'm really doing it in a legit fashion, let's say if I was building a battery pack for somebody, I would get the battery, turn on my webcam, have my desk cleared to where my webcam can see me unboxing everything. I will have a cell log to check the batteries as I pull them out. Don't use anything sharp to open the box or anything like that, because they'll say that, oh, your razor blade or whatever, your knife nicked the batteries. Try to open the box as best as you can without any sharp utensils. And then so when you're unboxing, you check out, you pull the battery out, read off the last 4 or 5 digits of the serial number, plug in your cell log or whatever you're using to check the battery, read off the voltages, show it to the camera. If you can get it in focus, show it to the camera. And then if everything looks okay, then move on to the next battery. And you keep doing that for all the batteries that you have in your order. For somebody like me, I remember I had the Forest batteries, Forest 5 amp hour hard cases, and I had like 30 batteries to check. Trust me, it will save you lots of headache if Hobby King, tries to say some shit or whatever. Here is my unboxing video. Shut the fuck up. you know. And so you do all of that, and if all the voltages check out okay, then you immediately set aside time to go to the Hobby King website and put in all your warranty codes. You need to do this when you get the batteries, not when you have a problem a week or two down the road. Do this when you get the batteries. So you put in, take your little 10, 15 minutes, aside and put all your warranty numbers in. And then after that, you need to set aside time immediately to go ahead and start doing charge cycles, charge balance cycles, and discharging the battery. and then you note the capacity of the battery and which cell is the weakest cell that you have in the pack. And either make a little sticker, do what you have to do, create an Excel sheet, do what you have to do to keep track of this information. If you have any cell, any pack that has a weak cell in it, like after you discharge and it's not giving capacity, what you need to do is freeze everything, don't unplug it from a charger or anything. And so you get your camera out and you document, either do a short little video, you document, like, here's this pack. I charged it to 4.2 volts, I discharged it to 3.0 volts. Cell number 3 is the weakest cell. Here's, like me, I normally discharge with log view on my computer, so not only do I have a discharge graph on the screen, that same information that's on the screen will mirror what's on the charger. And then so you do like a continuous shot. Here's my screen, here's the screen on the charger, here's how the pack is connected to the charger, and pretty much all your voltages should match up. Since the pack is plugged into the charger, it's going to display on the charger. And then with a log view, it'll have a live data section. So if it's hooked up to your computer, if it's hooked up to your computer, it'll show the voltages live on the computer. And it's obviously, you can tell if a pack has been charged or discharged or whatever. I would even go as far as taking pictures of when the charge cycles, like when the charge cycle started. If it started at 8:30 and you finished up at at 9 o'clock or 9:01 or whatever, you just pretty much want to have all of this data show, so Hobby King doesn't feel like you're trying to screw them over. Whenever they ask for pictures of the pack plugged into a charger or some type of reputable uh, voltage device that shows the cell voltage, you want to have a nice high resolution camera that shows the serial number on the pack. And it'll show, like, you can set the pack up to where it'll show the serial number, the label, and how many S pack it is or whatever. Have your charger in view to where they can see the cell, see the cell data, or have the log view and view. You basically want everything in frame, and you want it to be a high resolution photo, so if they go to zoom in, they can see the serial number, they can see what pack it is, and they can see the log view, and in the same general area, to where without a shadow of a doubt, this battery has a problem. And like I said, this works very well, like I said, when you're taking those batteries out of the box. And since you're on the webcam, they're seeing you take the batteries out of the box, and if you hit one that has, like, if the pack is way out of balance, you need to show the camera that. You need to be on tape showing, you need to be on your webcam showing you taking a picture, and and everything, so they're, like I said, without a shadow of a doubt, they can't argue, like, you swap batteries or anything like that. Make sure your desk is clean as possible, and that's the only pack that's visible in frame, and so, just by doing these key things, it's not exactly super paranoid in that, fashion, to where it seems like I'm doing a lot, but I haven't, out of the 4 or 5 batteries in the past year or two, I haven't had to return anything to Hobby King, whether it was bloated, whether the cell voltages wasn't right when I unboxed it, or whether when I checked the pack. Um, when I checked the pack and did the discharge test, if a cell came up low on capacity, I had all the data. I had the discharge graph, the Excel data from log view. I had the picture showing the serial number, showing my cell log, and then, or even still having the charger up at the screen where it ended the discharge cycle, and still have the information on the screen for that battery and everything. Because, like I said, if your discharge graph matches the picture that you took at the end of charge. So you have your discharge graph. You have one cell dropping off really fast, and you say that cell number 6 is the weak cell. Then you have another picture of the cell plugged into the charger, and your charger lists out the cell voltages, and of course cell number 6 is the weak cell or whatever. So your data corroborates each other. And then, like I said, once you send them all that information, you upload these high resolution pictures and state everything that's going on in text, and it's basically explaining the pictures. It takes maybe a day or two. If they're on their A game, it only takes, like, they'll answer the same day, but otherwise it may take a day or two for them to respond, and then they'll say, hey, do you want a refund, or do you want a store credit to purchase another battery? They don't refund shipping, but they'll give you the cost of the battery pack back. So but going back to just Hobby King batteries in general, whenever you buy your battery packs, if you need 10 packs, try to budget for 11 or 12. Even if all 10 of your packs come up good, you'll still have 1 or 2 extra packs to just in case you have a ding on one of your cells, or if you did get your 10 batteries and one of them failed, you have an extra pack to test and and integrate into your pack. And then the dud pack, you worry about the warranty, get the warranty from Hobby King, and that'll be your spare pack just in case another pack fails. I would say whenever you're doing the discharge test, that pack should give full capacity right out the gate. Meaning, like, if it's a 5 amp hour pack, it should give you 5 amp hours, not 4.8, 4.7, 4.8, or 4.9. It should give you 5,000 or more right out the gate. If it's right on that edge, cycle it another time or two. Sometimes they do increase enough to put it over into the good range, but if that pack isn't giving capacity right out the gate, and like I said, if it's around 4.7, 4.8, it more likely probably won't get better, and it won't get drastically better after a few cycles. It'll still be a sub 5 amp hour pack, and that would be a pack that I will set to the side. I've had them warranty packs at 4.8 and 4.9 amp hours, and it seems like it's being nitpicky, but right out the box, that pack should deliver full capacity, ifs, ands, or buts. So if you're accepting anything less, then down the road when you have an issue with your pack, don't come bitching to everybody on the forum that your pack failed, or it's bloated, or this, that, and the other. It's because you didn't get any extra pack. This suboptimal pack was up to your standards, and when it takes out your whole pack, then it's on you. You can't blame anybody else but yourself. If you do all the right things, and I wouldn't say fight with Hobby King, but go through the motions with Hobby King to get a replacement pack or a refund, then you should be golden. I mean, like I said, I've had, when I had those 4S hard cases, I bought 28 batteries. The first go round, I had to disqualify 3, and I fought with Hobby King, got them replaced, and then even the replacements, I had one of those go bad. Not one of them go bad, but one of them that test out optimally, and then I had them warranty that. So it took me a while to get me an established pack, and so that means me charging and discharging every one, categorizing, putting the stickers on them and everything to classify these batteries. And like I said, I normally classify batteries according to capacity, and then if in a log view, if a cell looks substandard, like it's sitting quite below the others, like 0.05 volts below the others, then either I would keep, if it gives capacity, I'll keep an eye on it. But normally, if it doesn't fall in line with the other cells, I just go ahead and automatically disqualify that pack, try to get the warranty claim if it's worth it. Or just, since I buy extra batteries now, just go ahead and get the extra battery out the box, test it, and go ahead and integrate it into my pack. The problem that you typically have, what I've seen a lot of people is oh, I got my 510 batteries from Hobby King, got a good deal. You never hear anybody saying they did a discharge test or anything, because I guarantee, it's very rare that any of us come away scot-free from the Hobby King shaft. They've shafted all of us at least once, whether we like to realize it or not. Um, yeah, they screw us over pretty good. They don't do any QC testing. I mean, like, if you even look at the cell voltages, you can tell me in the span of 2 or 3 days of shipping that this cell dropped half a volt, a full volt, or whatever at a time it takes to ship. So, it's like they may be spot checking the batteries, but they're not testing every single one of them to make sure at least the voltage is okay. And then even when you check the cell voltages when you're doing your boxing, cell voltage is a good indicator that you may have a good pack, but you still may put that pack on the charger and discharge, and then it comes up short on capacity. So, don't use voltage. Voltage is a good indicator that, all right, this is the preliminary step that passed the first phase of QC. Now you need to go the extra step and discharge test the battery. I have waited a week, week and a half sometimes, because I'm discharging and charging batteries just to make sure they're okay. But on the time when I have an assembled pack, I don't think once ever that I complained that, oh, one of my cell groups are low or this, that, and the other. I'm always balance charging the packs. I go on a lot of rides where I'm actually using full the capacity of the packs, and I never have any problems. Like, people will be like, cell 6 on one of my pack groups is at 0 volts. That means something was, either that pack is damaged, or something was happening, or that pack wasn't screened initially, and it had a high IR or some type of damage to it where it was self-discharging and it just took out your pack. When people like bulk charger nowadays, and I'm like, you really can't rely on bulk charging. It's nice and easy, but you really can't rely on it. For the 30 seconds or a minute for it takes for me to hook up to my charger, that's all that it takes for me to go through the motions to balance charge. So a lot of us don't have an excuse not to balance charge. If you sit down and make the appropriate harness, you can balance charge every cycle, and it doesn't take too much time away from you. I understand, like, yeah, you can bulk charge at work, but if you're, relying on bulk charging exclusively, at least do the preliminary measures and checking all of your packs and being very discriminatory on the packs to where you don't have these issues come up later on. You take a Hobby King pack that you didn't test um, and assemble this pack, and then, like I said, something happens down the road. Again, that's on you. That's not on Hobby King. It's on you. Because Hobby King does stand behind their packs and at least on the warranty standpoint. They do warranty stuff, but if you didn't catch them in the beginning, don't complain when your pack is burnt down or it takes out a whole cell group or something like that. Another thing with Hobby King packs, especially if you're running multiple packs, uh, when you run 1P packs, the packs tend to kind of be a little bit unpredictable, meaning like the cell voltages, they don't really discharge evenly, but typically whenever you put 2 or more packs in parallel, the pack is typically well behaved and you don't have any problems out of pack. So if you can make a pack out of a 2P string, but you can make it out of 1P, but it's not advised. And if you do 1P, make sure you're balance charging every cycle, because subtle differences in those cells will become more apparent. And like I said, especially when it comes to cell IR, you may have, with a 1P pack, you may have one cell in there that has a iffy cell IR, and when you go to discharge it, it'll waste part of its capacity due to the high IR. It'll waste the capacity heating up the cell, and so a 5 amp hour pack may be only 4.7, due to that IR difference. And so when you just discharge in 1P, it causes the issue. But again, like I said, if it goes back to me, if those cells aren't giving the full capacity out the gate, then that's an issue. And normally when you have a low capacity cell, you have a cell that has high IR. So if you have, a cell that's charging up super fast, like when you put it on the charger and you're monitoring your charge cycle, and one cell is coming up super fast, that one has a lower capacity or a higher IR. And you need to either keep an eye on that pack very closely and make plans to replace that pack or that cell, because that's going to give you problems. Like I said, any cell group that's giving me any issues, I'm normally just scrapping that pack or scrapping that cell. Or even if I have, let's say, a 4P pack and I'm having issues out of one group, I will split that 4P and test each pack individually, and whichever one is causing the problem, that will that one gets set aside. I put another pack in, to replace it. That's good, that I've tested to be good, and and keep it moving, So, but one of the benefits of having a charger and having a harness to where you can balance charge every cycle is you are more involved with the pack. You are seeing the cell voltages for what they actually are, instead of having a BMS being disguised under some heat shrink and you're not sure what the BMS is doing, but it's supposedly doing its job and you're still riding. But it could be over a period of time you're slightly losing capacity, and it's all because of one cell group. But if you are monitoring that cell group, if that pack was constructed in a way where you can monitor that cell group, visually, meaning you have numerical numbers, like you plugging it to the charger and you're actually seeing the cell values, and you're actually seeing how much power is being put into the pack and what's being taken out of the pack and all of that, then you're more involved with your pack. So if your pack starts to act funny, right off the bat something isn't right. It hasn't done this in the past. But people that run BMSs, I wouldn't say they're totally oblivious, but as long as they do the pre-pack testing before they put it on that BMS, they should be okay. But if you just get the packs and put a BMS on it and expect the BMS to do all your dirty work, then you're sadly mistaken, because it can take as little as a 2 to 300 milliamp hour, 0.2, 0.3 amp hours of misbalance, or what do you say? Like I said, if all the cells in your pack are 5 amp hours and you have one that's at 4.7, that puts a lot of unnecessary stress on that BMS for it to correct it. Yes, it will eventually balance out the pack if you leave it on the charger long enough, but you could have 10-15 minutes of balancing with a perfectly checked and capacity matched pack versus a Hobby King pack where you have that one pack or one cell that's not acting right. And yes, the BMS will work, but it takes a much longer time for it to work itself out. And so typically over time with these BMS packs is, people see the charger, oh, the charger's green. The charger may be green, but the pack may not be balanced. So if it's not sitting there, because sometimes that charger may cycle because the cells are bleeding down in the pack and the voltage drops. Then it reactivates the charger to top off that weak cell a little bit more. So the more and more you go out on the BMS pack that's misbalanced or not capacity matched, the more potential that pack becomes way out of balance. You start seeing capacity loss of range and everything, and that's just due to that weak cell group that had low capacity. And then, like I said, as each cycle passed, it was a snowball effect that got worse and worse. And I said that's why I prefer the Hobby King approach, because like I said, I'm balance charging every cycle. I'm keeping my eye on the cell voltages. I even ride with a cell log. Like I remember I had a 44 volt 40 amp hour battery, so that's comprised of 8 batteries, eight 6S 10 amp hour batteries. So at 10 amp hours, I would stop, pull over, get my cell log out, check the 2 pack groups, If everything still looked tight, I'll go out to 20 amp hours, check it again. Go out to 30 amp hours, check it again. And then on that last amp hour at 35, I'll check it again. And if I did need to, pull more out of the pack than what I'm used to, I normally on that 40 amp hour pack, I would normally stop at 35 and leave it at that. But it's just observation of your pack like that. If there was anything wrong, it would come up on the second or third check if the pack had low capacity, or the balance is getting way off. The pack should remain balanced all the way down to about 3.6 volts, and then you should start seeing a drift. If you're seeing a huge misbalance above between 4.2 and 3.6, you need to figure out why and if it's acceptable to you. But like I said, I don't play around with batteries. I gotta have top-notch batteries whenever I'm assembling my battery pack. I gotta have a decent charger. If you're considering these RC batteries and you're buying a 50-watt charger, then your priorities are out of order. The batteries is just the charger is just as important as the battery. So you need to budget for both accordingly. And like I said, I'm an iCharger fanboy. I never killed an iCharger. I've never had the RMA one. I'm currently using the 406 Duo, and even if you have a slightly questionable RC battery pack that's slightly out of balance or has some age on it, just by having a good charger can make a difference. My charger has a 2.4 yes, 2.4 amps of balancing current. So any pack that I have that even is the least bit out of balance gets back in check rather quickly with my charger. If you get some of these cheaper chargers, they may have 100 milliamp, 200 milliamps. Most of the half decent ones have 500 milliamp. But when it comes into play, what this actually does is, like I said, if you're trying to get a pack back in balance, and let's say it's a 5 amp hour pack, but one of the cells is giving low capacity at 4500, that means it's going to take 1 hour to get that pack back into balance. Now, to put this in perspective with BMSs, some BMSs only have 100 milliamps of balancing current. So it's going to take 5 hours to get that pack into balance. So with BMSs is very key to have that pack capacity match, because if there's the least little imbalance in the pack, it's going to take hours, and just because that charger went green doesn't mean you're ready to go. It could be trying to balance the pack, and it may take an extremely long period of time to balance that pack. That's why you see some people with ping batteries being told that just leave it on the charger overnight or leave it on the charger a few hours, and it should possibly correct that issue. But going back to the balance current, like yeah, my charger has a 2.4 amps of balancing current. So the least little misbalance of the pack is corrected, and while other chargers may take a long time. So it does pay to spend a little bit more money on the charger. And even my charger can charge 6S batteries up to 50 amps. And that's barely, when you parallel charge batteries, that's barely tickling the battery. The only thing with parallel balance charging, it may take a longer time to balance, but then again, like I said, if you have a good charger that's able to, correct the balance of that pack, because I've charged, like again, I've had a 28 cell pack of 4S 5 amp hour not multi-stars, but the 4S 5 amp hour hard cases, and I'm balance charging 28 packs, but I have an extremely good charger that does that, does it very well. So I don't have the issues that other people have. And then with cheaper chargers, you have problem with cell balancing due to the charger not being able to detect the voltage appropriately. So on one charger it may appear in balance. You put it on a cheap charger, it'll see that it's out of balance, and so since that charger isn't calibrated correctly to see that pack as being good, it'll actually misbalance a pack versus balancing it correctly. So again, it pays to spend that extra money on a good charger. So to take from this video, to take from this this little podcast is, don't trust Hobby King to send you good stuff on the first go. You might get lucky, but don't consider that as any benchmark for your future orders. Um, Check everything that Hobby King sends you. That doesn't mean just checking the voltage. Just do capacity testing. If a pack doesn't give you what is rated on the first go, then automatically disqualify that pack and let Hobby King know. If it's closed, cycle it 2 or 3 more times. If it still doesn't improve, then again, file the warranty claim. Um, don't just just get the Hobby King packs and just immediately make a battery pack, because like I said, I guarantee that down the road you'll be the first one saying that, oh, my pack is puffed, or this, that, and the other. Balance, don't use balance charge as a crutch, because you do still, even with the best plan out packs, you still do need to balance charge. And like I said, the amount of effort it takes to hook up your pack to a balance charger, if you did your pack right, it's only like 1 or 2 minutes to hook it up to balance charge, and then you can bulk charge 15-20 times, but still always come back to balance charging your pack. And keep a buy or sell log. Keep, if you're using RC Lipo from Hobby King, keep a sell log and try to make habit of checking the cell voltages at each division of your pack. So if you have a 10 amp hour battery, check your cell voltages at 5 amp hours. Or if you have a 20 amp hour battery with 4 packs, check it at 5, 10, 15. It only takes a few seconds to check it, and it can save your battery. Because if you go out there thinking you got a 20 amp hour battery and you have a connection loose in your bag, you're gonna just over discharge your cells. But by at least you stopping at every division of your pack, you can catch something, such as an unplugged connector or a pack that's becoming way out of balance from the other ones in the group. And I think that's pretty much all I have right now. I'm going to go ahead and cut this. I may revisit this a little bit later, but just be careful with Hobby King, and don't put all your eggs in one basket. If you need 10 batteries, buy 11. And the tips that I had in the beginning of this, do everything to cover your own ass, because that may be the evidence that you need to send to Hobby King. Like I said, I haven't had to send anything back to Hobby King just by doing those methods of covering my own ass, taking really good pictures, and discharging every battery, and having that evidence on hand, so that if they try to ask, here you go, here's all your information. But anyway, I'm Ice Cube 57 off the Endless Forum, otherwise known as Christopher Parham, and that's a wrap.